I was a mid-tier leader in a very large multinational corporation, and I viewed myself as being in a very hostile political environment where I was supposed to protect my space because I'd gotten there after a lot of struggle. I was living in a man's world, and it took me a lot of struggle, tears to get to the place where I was at. And so I became territorial, just like cats. You know, they become territorial of their space. And on a business trip to Las Vegas, we were sitting with a group of women, all about a little bit senior than me or a little bit junior than me, and we were all sitting together. And we started talking. We started talking about this political environment that we're in. We started talking about how we are protecting what's ours. We started talking about how we feel pitted against each other. And we started discussing, where is this coming from? What's the framework? What's the underlying framework where this is coming from? And we realized that we're thinking from a framework, from a mindset of scarcity, that there are limited resources in the world, and we have to compete with each other for those resources. And then we had a very big aha moment. We decided that we're going to change our framework. You know where this framework comes from? I mean, thankfully things are different now. I mean, the education system is different now. But when we were young, there was always one child who would come first in class. Only one child, right? So, and then only one child would be second, and only one child would be third. So we had this it was just built into our system. We had this competitive nature. We have this competitive nature. And so we had that aha moment where we decided to change our framework from this mindset of scarcity to mindset of abundance. So mindset of abundance is you don't have to share the same pie. Let's make that pie bigger. Let's have more pies. So bigger and better, and there are a lot of resources. There's lots out there. There's enough for everyone. So all of us women started to become cheerleaders for each other. We started to talk about each other. We started to promote each other. We started to believe that the success of one is the success of all. That we're going to celebrate the success of each and every one of us. And trust me, after that, all of us grew. We grew at a tremendous pace. And we enjoyed it. Because all that time, when we were political, when we were territorial, we were in stress. All that stress, all that negative energy was channelized into something positive. And so the mindset of abundance really made us be in a better, happier, and more successful place. In my first TEDx talk, this is my second one, in my first TEDx talk, I talked about how I was in a very bad place in my life, very deep, bad place, because I did not, and when I questioned why I was there, I realized that I did not like the person I was. That I was living from something that motivated me was not what I chose it to be. The society had conditioned me to be like that. I was living by default. I wasn't living by design. And so I changed that and made my epicenter, made my motivational force into the epicenter that I wanted it to be. And then I talked about this thing called ikigai, which is a Japanese concept, which is the intersection of four things. Something you love, something that you're good at, something that's good for the world, and something that you can be paid for. So I said, when you find the intersection of these four things, make it your quest in life. Make it your pursuit in life. That will become your legacy. That will make your dot linger, right, for a long time after you're gone. But let me take you to another place today. Continue from that discussion. Let me tell you a secret. You know what is the one most important determinant of success when it comes to your quest of impact? What is the one most important determinant of success? That is, are you able to find people who share your vision, who share the same quest? And then do not strive individually. This is not an individual or a solo endeavor. This is a collective endeavor. When you find people who share your vision, they become your vision soulmates, your vision partners. They are your community. And sometimes, they're even more important than family. Family is somebody who cares for you, nurtures you, supports you. But I went to my family and I was sitting there and my brother and my mother and all, and I said, I want to build an app which is going to transform the world. It's going to bring technology into the social sector. And my mother was eating something. She said, हाँ बेटा, जाओ जाओ, करो इंशाल्लाह कर लोगी. So that's because the family doesn't share that same vision. They're not on the same path as you are. So these people, the ones that share your vision, they are your vision soulmates. That's what I call them. And they're your community. And what is a community? Community is not somebody who are from the same, when we talk about community, we think community is the people living in the same proximity, the same location, or people who have shared interests. But a true community are those people who share the same vision, the same goals, who have mutual trust with each other, and who can do collective effort, collective combined effort. That, I believe, is a true community. And I learned this in my recent trip to China as well. So recently I just visited China. And China is a country where in just 30 years, they've grown from being very poor to becoming very rich, an economic superpower, a technological superpower as well in the world. And only 30 years. I cannot find another example in the world where a country in only 30 years has advanced so much. And one thing that I saw in China was, there are lots of factors that contribute to that success. But one thing that I saw in China was this collective mindset, was this collective IQ. Maybe individual IQs weren't that big, but the collective IQ was amazing. And let me give you an example of this. So I was invited by this technology giant of China. I'm not going to name the company, but this company is extremely successful. And they compete with every other technology company in the world. They make everything from EV cars to router switches to telco equipment to, they're in the cloud. They have their own cloud now. They're one of the hyperscalers of the world as well. So they compete with every other technology company in the world almost. And I visited their campus and it was breathtaking. Like, it was beautiful. I've never seen anything like it. And I've been all over the US, visited all the tech company campuses. And I was like, so what's peculiar about you? What's your recipe for success? And will you believe it, what they told me? They said, we don't have a CEO for more than 6 months. And we don't even call it a CEO, we say rotational CEO. Because the CEO never stays for more than 6 months. And I was dumbfounded. I was like, how is that possible? Like, in 6 months, how can anybody make any strategy? How can anybody make any decisions? How can you execute anything in 6 months? Like, 6 months, you hardly get to, kind of just figure out what you're supposed to do. And then what happens to the CEO? Do they get fired? They're like, no, they start reporting to the next CEO. So they get demoted. This is the first company in the world where you actually get demoted as well. And everybody's okay with that. So I was like, so what about this? How do they make decisions? And well, the CEO is not supposed to make decisions. I'm like, okay, this is a first. How does that work? Walk me through it. And they said, well, the whole leadership team gets together and we do a brainstorming session. We all think together. We all think about what our vision is going to be, what our strategy is going to be. And then we argue. Obviously everybody's not of the same opinion. So we share ideas, we brainstorm, we argue, and then we vote. When there are a bunch of different decisions, we vote. And then once a decision is made, be it regarding strategy, be it regarding vision, goals, be it regarding execution, how to execute, once a decision is made, everybody rallies behind that. Everybody stands behind that decision. Nobody's the boss here. And then the CEO is only for 6 months just to execute all the decisions that have already been made. There's just the executioner person. They just execute for 6 months and then new person comes and executes for the next 6 months, etc. And so I was really surprised by that. That's very different from what we've learned. I learned in a cultural course back in the day, I recall that I learned this about China, that they don't value individualism like the Western cultures do. In the West, it's all about me, it's all about individual. It's all about the individual. It's all about my choices, me. What I feel, I feel like I'm a cat. I relate to being a cat, and nobody can question me. So, but in China, it's all about collective thinking. It's all about community. It's all about the family. It's all about the collective choice. And that has really contributed to their success. Let's come to the Pakistani culture. In Pakistan, the perception, and it might be hasty generalization, but the perception is that we pull each other down. We're a society of individuals. We compete. We live in this mindset of scarcity. Compared to our Indian counterparts, and I know people are going to hate me when I say this, but it's true. This is the normal, perception in the world, which is that the Indian diaspora, they really pull each other up. If an Indian comes as a boss in any tech company, big tech companies in the Silicon Valley, you will find that everybody under them becomes Indian. Yeah, because they pull each other up, and that's why Indians are known to be such, like the diaspora, Indian diaspora is very, very well recognized in the global technology scene in the world. So how do you build a community? How do you build this? First of all, find people who share your vision. Find people who share your goals. That is the step number one. Step number two. Step number two is create a safe space. Psychological safety. Nurture each other. Do not be judgmental. Provide each other with that empathy. And think of your success as their success as your success. Sometimes you might have to make small sacrifices, give up on small things, but collectively you'll be better. And then share knowledge, share experiences, mentorship and sponsorship. Somebody above you, ask them to help you get there. Somebody below you, pull them up, mentor them, sponsor them. That is very important. That is how communities are built. I talked about legacy as well in my first talk. Let me tell you that when you shift from the mindset of my success to our success, then your legacy becomes a much larger narrative. It becomes a much global narrative. It's not about, it transcends the individual at that point. It transcends the individual. It becomes about creating ecosystems and transforming the world. At that time, you become very powerful. So let me leave you with this. This is my challenge to you. Don't do it alone. Don't struggle alone. Find your soulmates in your vision. Find those people. Nurture them. Find that is your community. Build it, nurture it. Because success is so much sweeter when it's shared and a lot more fun as well. And the impact, individual impact, is not as deep as collective impact. You will have the ability to transform societies, to transform countries, and to transform the world, as we've seen in history and across cultures and history. We've seen the Black Lives Movement, we've seen the Civil Rights Movement, we've seen the Women Movement, we've seen the environmental change movements. They were all collective efforts. When we strive together, we thrive together. Thank you.